It is Wall Pass Wednesday here on SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by. And here's the rundown of show. Traditionally on Wednesdays, about 10 minutes, Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes will join us. Tyler texted me yesterday, and this is where it gets intriguing. So Tyler texts me, and I don't think I'm out of school. I don't think I'm out of school. So what Tyler texted me yesterday, just as kind of a warning shot. Tyler admitted that there are things going on at the Casa de Pilgrim, and he says, and I quote, and what I probably should do, if in fact Tyler does join us in about 9 minutes, I'll have him do it in his voice as well. Hey. And so I have new internet getting installed tomorrow, which is supposed to actually be done before the show. But you know how that goes. My plan is to be on, but I'll keep you updated closer to time. Okay. So what I told him was, I said, dude, just do it from your backyard. Man, just do it from the veranda. I mean, shoot, we've done it from hotel rooms and houses in southeastern Alabama. So I encouraged him. I said, just do it from the backyard. Have your cup of coffee, sun shining behind you, that kind of a thing. So we will see, in theory, if Tyler can join us at 9:15, and we will hopefully discuss from the Atlanta United Informational Exchange journalistic program with him at Scarves and Spikes, what he thought about Matchweek 1 going into Matchweek number 2. All the things that all the subplots that we can get into with Tyler coming up, hopefully in about 8 minutes or so. Morning, David. Morning, Ricky. And then after that, we've got a lot of stuff overseas to get into. There's a lot of stories overseas that I think we need to keep an eye on. So we'll get into that. There's Manchester United. We had the Premier League yesterday. We got Premier League today because I think it's an FA Cup weekend. And so scheduling, they're clearing the decks. And so then they don't come back after tomorrow until next weekend. So set your fantasy teams appropriately. So we'll get into what's going on in the Premier League yesterday, going into today, get you into the standings, and we'll let you know there's some stories out there, more with Manchester United. Ruben Amorim has now spoken up about where things are with the state of the club, in addition to all of the redundancies we've been talking about all week long and the team's place, the on-the-field product, the on-the-field product's place in all of that discussion. So Ruben Amorim talked about that. I don't know if Jessica Charman's ears are burning, but we do have some stuff to discuss about Reading and the continued search. I want to say this is like the 19,000th year in a row that there's the possibility that Reading fans will be done with their owner, but for those of you that had the Morning Espresso newsletter and heard Jason discuss it yesterday, there's now a catch. So we'll get into that. We have CONCACAF Champions League extravaganza from last night. We have the highlight from last night. We'll get into that. We'll discuss what happened yesterday and get into what's going on today. Also today, later tonight, later tonight, 10:30 kick. It is the last day of She Believes out at Snapdragon in San Diego. We'll hear from Emma Hayes as Team USA gets ready for Japan. So we'll go through She Believes, all the machinations there as well. And like I said, we'll hear from Emma Hayes coming up in hour number 2. So since it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, it's whatever's on your mind. Throw it in the Twitch pitch, and we will discuss. Could be Atlanta United, could be Major League Soccer, could be Team USA, could be the U.S. Women's National Team, could be anything over in Europe. All the things. We got gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We've got what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all the things coming up here on the morning show. Programming stuff. 12:15, we come back. Now, the reason it's not noon is because I have to tape an interview for our college basketball show over on the other side of the aisle. So noon, I have a college basketball interview with the voice of UC San Diego, Steve Quist. That'll be on this week's college basketball show, and you can save OSG Sports on all your search engines when it comes to podcasts. And John Wilkerson, John Fox, and I do a show called Under the Radar, where we focus on the teams that are not in the Power Four conferences that you need to know heading into the conference tournament postseason and the tournament where you might fill out some paperwork. So we caught up with folks from High Point and VCU and a lot of places in between. And so this week it's going to be UC San Diego and Louisville. We'll catch up with the voices there. My interview with Steve Quiss is at noon. So that pushes everything back about 15 minutes when it comes to Soccer's in Session. Soccer's in Session live at 12:15 across the network. And we catch up with Matt Sheaves, the head coach at Dalton for Dalton Boys. We catch up with Will Homskis, the head coach at Lincoln County on the girls' side, and maybe Matthew Hayslip, the boys' coach, if his lunch hour fits. About 12:15, we'll catch up with Coach Sheaves. About 12:30, we'll catch up with Coach Homskis and maybe Coach Hayslip. We'll talk about the Lincoln County program and how it has grown. We were out there earlier this week for one of our matchups with Thompson and Lincoln County for Monday Night Football, and we'll discuss what happened there. We'll discuss the rivalries matchup coming up against Washington Wilkes, what they refer to in high school football as the 378 War, Lincoln County and Washington Wilkes, and there's some wives' tales and old stories that are attached to that rivalry that we'll get into as well. 12:15 and 12:30, and then 12:45, Ryan Burkhart, the head coach of North Gwinnett's girls, is going to be on with us. So Matt Sheaves from Dalton at 12:15 right off the top. 12:30 Lincoln County, and it's a combination of possibly Coach Homskis and Coach Hayslip to get the girls and boys perspectives. At the very least, it's going to be Will Homskis at the beginning of his lunch hour. Then it'll be Ryan Burkhart, the head coach at North Gwinnett. We'll discuss what's going on there on the girls' side of things. That's Soccer's in Session. So we'll go over what happened last night. We'll go over what's happened this week. We'll get you ready for what's going on Friday involving our match of the week, and it is West Forsyth at Lambert, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'll have the calls for those on the network, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. You can do it that way if you believe in just searching on things on the World Wide Web, or download the Mixler app, and you can also when SDH or SDH2 or both are up and running, you get a notification if you follow. So download the Mixler app, follow Soccer Down Here, follow SDH2. When either one of those networks is up and running, you get an email notification. Hey, there's a live event going on over on SDH. Hey, there's a live event going on SDH2. And so then you can join in and listen and find out what's going on the network. So Friday is our next broadcast, high school soccer action. It is West Forsyth and Lambert, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock on our Mixler channel over at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. Everybody else will be headed towards Charlotte for the matchup with Charlotte and Atlanta United. We're going to track down Will Pelagic, the play-by-play voice of Charlotte, and see if he can either crash tomorrow morning off the top or on Friday in the free-for-all in hour number 2. And we'll break down everything as we get ready for the rivalry game coming up, the early game on Saturday. So your programming plans on Saturday are as follows. 1 o'clock pregame show starts, 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. It is Abe, Gordon, and Nick. So Nick will be with Abe, and because it is, I want to say a 2:25 start, listed in the league at 2:15, but since it's on Big FOX, that to me means that they get the extra 10 minutes, and it will be the Super Hyper Mega pregame show on Big FOX. So that means pregame show on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app might go a little longer than normal, or Mike and Jason and Maddie and everybody else that's made the trip might fill from 2 o'clock to 2:25, but we'll find out what that's going to look like on Saturday. And then after the match is over, the full-time report on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, once again, Abe and Nick from Colony Square, as they go through everything that happened with Atlanta and Charlotte, and they will get the table set for the rest of the day in Major League Soccer and the rest of the weekend in Major League Soccer. So that's the rundown where Atlanta United is concerned, and we're going to hopefully, we'll see. We will see if Tyler can make it. So we will definitely find out what's going on with anyone and everyone that is attached with oh boy. You hear the magic tones, and that I hear it in my ear. I don't know if you guys hear the magic tones in your ears, but I heard the magic tones, which means that there is a guest that is hopping into the studio. And this is the guest that we've been discussing for the first 10 minutes of the show. So let's find out. Let's ask. Let's see the state of affairs with Tyler. So, I guess the first question is this the new interwebs at the Casa de Pilgrim, or are you?
Not yet.
Oh.
No, he is actively outside working on it as we speak.
Oh, see, I was sitting there and I was giving everyone the 411 about your status.
Yeah, our private text messages, John.
Yes. Absolutely true. So where I encouraged you just to go ahead and do it out back, just to have the sunshine and the coffee and everything.
It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah. So I basically said, that and I tried to read it in your voice.
Oh boy.
And so it was new internet getting installed, supposed to be done before the show, but you know how that goes. And so your plan was to be here on time. You are, sir, on time. It's just that you are still having things installed. It is not in the past tense. It is in the present participle phrase of that.
It is indeed. He is. I looked out the window right before I came in here, and he is actively running line.
Oh, see. All right. Now, my next question is, and this is something that we have had an issue with here at Office HD. Our internet is tied to our cable television.
Okay.
And there have been a few times where, maybe folks with eagle ears have been listening and they know what's going on in the backyard, where I've discussed the fence posts and everything, and the new fence being installed and all of the shiny things being done in our collective backyard. You might be hearing chainsaws and hammers and things like that. What they have done on more than one occasion is they've cut our line.
Oh, yeah.
And so that has been an issue for us in sometimes doing the show with the speed that, folks can actually, kind of hang out and watch and consume information with us. So we've been told in the past, once the line has been cut, then we now have, by the way, our own personal repair technician, because he had such a fantastic experience here. Literally, here's my phone number. Call me anytime. And well, he was rewarded well for his ingenuity in this situation, dancing around all the guys in the back and making sure that the cable was below ground, shall we say?
Yeah.
And of course, so he puts it below ground, and the gentlemen who are working out back in their excavation, they're like, "Oh, what's this big orange thing?" And so it came above ground again, and you had like 18 feet of cable. And it's a nice curly Q and about 4 feet worth of space. So that's the other issue with us. It's like, could you please restore the cable to its underground position?
When I get it, because when they were out actually installing fiber through the entire neighborhood, like getting it ready.
Oh.
Diagonally across the street from us, they hit a gas line.
Oh.
And I know there's like massive amounts of prep work that go into making sure you don't hit a line, but especially the gas line. That is the one you don't want to hit. And so, of course, that led to at least some people having to be removed from their homes temporarily while they waited. And then on the Super Bowl, get this, I'm in like a weird area.
How weird is it?
Very weird. On the Super Bowl. And when I tell you, it was seconds, not minutes, seconds before kickoff on the Super Bowl. We're sitting outside, set up a TV in the garage, hanging out. It's nice.
No.
We're sitting there and we hear boom, and then a flash of light, and then darkness. And I turn around, and at the top of our street, the transformer has blown and the power pole is actively on fire.
Wow.
And I was like, well, this is great. This is a great start to the Super Bowl. Screw this game.
Oh, man.
So no more accidents today, hopefully. But
in theory. So do you know what the improvements are once everything is supposed to be installed there at the Casa de Pilgrim?
Allegedly.
Faster?
Much faster. Yeah. I mean, I think we're getting around, not like what they tell you you're getting. We're actually getting around 250 megs per second right now, which is plenty fine, really. This is supposed to bump it up. It's a gig per second. But
so you're going to be a gagillionaire?
I'll be a gagillionaire. Yeah, that's the only illionaire I might be. But
you and me both, brother, right there with you. Wow. Okay. So when you come back in a week's time, or whenever you decide to crash the party, things should be faster, faster, faster. Okay.
Yeah, I should be talking so fast, y'all will, I don't know, hear colors or something, or I might hear colors. I don't know.
Well, you could hear colors and you can taste the stars, and it's just an amazing experience with everything out. Yeah. Yeah, I see what's going on. Yep. So as we get through match week 1, oh yeah, you're going to do the blatant plug for the coffee and the promo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need it this morning.
Yeah, no doubt. So as we get ready for match week 2 and the rivalry that was proclaimed from day number 1 by the owner of the home team coming up in this particular rivalry, I figured what I would do is go back to a particular moment last week. And like I said, we'll have a little fun with it. So here's a moment from last week that we can use for momentum going forward in our discussion, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
Awesome.
So 3-2, Edwin Mosqueda, as we have proclaimed and plotted on this here particular program on days of the week that end in Y, that when you have a team, in this case in CF Montreal, that was limited because of injuries and minutes and things like that, you bring in someone like Edwin Mosqueda late in a match, and he's the microwave. Literally, he is the Vinnie Johnson. This is your Google search for today, kids. Detroit Pistons bad boys, Vinnie Johnson. The microwave, Edwin Mosqueda comes in and launches an absolute golazo, aso. Thank you, Ramsey Sandoval. And then you end up at 3-2. From the discussions that you have had with the fan base over there at SNS, now with the new Sunday show at the end of the weekend, and now MLS Monday, and all the days of the week now with SNS, what you guys are doing, what has been the vibe from your audience coming forward here to the midweek, getting ready for a big matchup against Charlotte coming up on the weekend?
I mean, I think the easiest way to put it is everybody's been super thrilled about the attack and how even when you're maybe not playing the best soccer, mostly speaking of the second half, that you still find a way to pull a win and not just a draw. And, I mean, there's some concerns obviously about the defense, but it's also game 1, of the season. There's lots of factors beyond just, one team was better than the other, or one team had this and that, stats, whatever. It's the first game of the season. You have guys that legitimately are still feeling the lactic acid in their muscles from like 3 weeks ago because they've been working that hard in preseason. Yeah. And so, you look at the second half and you look at the tired legs, and I really think that was more of it. I think the tired legs led to some of the shaky passes. I think the tired legs led to some of the disorganization. And that does lead to the silly mistakes and the goals, and you have to learn as a team to fight through that. But I think just kind of the fans' overall, I guess, first impressions is the attack is going to be a lifesaver, and if the defense can get on board, then it's going to be a phenomenal team overall. But then also there's the caveat that, like, at the end of the day, and a lot of people have I've had this conversation with, they understand that, like, you were missing 3 of your 4 quote unquote starters on your back line. You have one guy playing out of position, in a position he's said he doesn't like to play in as much, but he will because he bleeds for the shirt. Mm-hmm. And then you have Matt Edwards, who super phenomenal athlete, but he's the young guy, and Montreal made it a point to go pick on him. And that's what you expect of Montreal. That was their game plan. They knew they weren't going to outplay Atlanta with all the talent that Atlanta had on the field, and considering they had so many guys out as well, So they picked the one weakness that Atlanta might have had, and that's just the inexperienced guy. Not a big deal. They fought through it and they made it work.
Backline to start the matchup from left to right was Ronald Hernandez at left back. Once again, still monitoring the health of Pedro Amador, getting him back to full song. Then it was Derek Williams, who was on the game day 18, but not in a position to start. Lisa Brom starts at left back. Then you have Steon Gregerson and Matt Edwards. Stats at the end of the day for Matt Edwards, since he played the full 90, 4 clearances, 1 pick, 2 tackles, 6 for 7. They adjusted the numbers. Initially, it was 6 for 8, but now it has been retracted. So he wins 6 of 7 of his ground duels, and obviously loses the one duel in the air. But 6 of 7 on duels on the ground, he gets the win. He was fouled 4 times on the day, 79 touches, 78% passing, 3 completed long balls in 7 attempts, had 1 key pass as well. So Matt Edwards, for the young guy that getting picked on, I mean, those are some pretty solid numbers on any given day, even if we are talking match week 1 coming out of the blocks at home.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that you're going to see with guys like Matt and Chankwi when he when he does get some time, and then to a degree probably Luke Brennan, but you see it more with defenders, and I think it's going to be their positioning. And Ronnie Dalla kind of mentioned it. I think it was maybe after the Birmingham match, talking about Chankwi specifically, but it kind of applies to all the young guys. Their positioning is what they have to be coached on, especially. Like, speaking of Matt, Ronnie Dyla mentioned when I was down in Florida, like, we have to work on his, first touches a little bit. And actually, I was kind of keeping an eye on it in this game. I actually thought his first touches were really, really good. He had some really, really hard, smashed passes coming his way that he handled really well. But I think where it gets tough for a young guy with this pace of the game is that positioning. And Ronnie has been on the sideline, almost telling guys like Chankwi and Matt Edwards, like, no, go here. You be here at this point. Go move this way, And I think that's one of those things that comes with experience. It comes with time. It comes with learning the guys, that are around you. And it comes with, learning Ronnie Dalla's system. And that's the hardest thing for a young player. And I think when you maybe look at how he got picked on, he handled himself one-on-one very well. But then it's, where is your positioning in relation to, the rest of your teammates? How can you keep the other team from, taking those spaces that maybe you're leaving when you're up a little higher than maybe you should be, or whatever. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, I thought, even with him being the quote unquote weak spot, that's not derogatory towards Matt at all. It's just inexperience. I still think he handled himself pretty well.
And when you discuss Matt Edwards, Jason and Mike caught up with Matt after the match, and by his own admission, he wasn't happy with his effort, even though, we ran through most of the numbers that Matt Edwards accumulated on the day. And to a man, when you go into the locker room and you hear them post game, that's a unifying message across the board. It's, hey, we won, and it's a we won, but it's not a we won, one of those kind of things. It is we won, but, and then they discuss everything that they need to work on going forward. Once again, learning Ronnie Dyla, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I found that was interesting to a man post-match as well, that they understand the short term and the long term as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this unified message of, like, nobody went into the locker room thinking that, like, the performance was perfect. Everybody is on a high because you won your first match of the season at home in front of all these fans, and then you add in the other factors like Miggy being back, and this offseason has been so good that people finally get to see it in action, everything else. But yeah, I mean, everybody that we talked to was like, no, defensively, we've got to work on some things and we'll get there. And it's an active work in progress. And I think the biggest difference too is you've seen this side under Ronnie Dalla from day one up in Chattanooga until day one of the actual season, they've improved, and they've been on a I'm not going to say a linear path, but it's been a very, very upward path in terms of like taking guys that some of them maybe playing for the first time, but mostly a continuous group from last year. But then you have a new coach coming in and he says, "This is how I want it done." And then you see on Saturday kind of not the final product, but a much more polished version than what you had a month ago. And everybody's learning, everybody's getting on that same page. And it does help the confidence of guys like Matt and Shankwe and anybody else, that may be coming in that's young, because you know your role, you know what you have to do. And even if you do make mistakes, you have either a back line that can help fix it, or you have an attack that can go score goals to help fix it.
And, Ronald Hernandez was on the left-hand side, and you mentioned, Ronnie is the kind of guy, and I mean Ronald Hernandez. I love interviews with Ronald because he is that guy that will live and die by the shirt. He loves being here. He loves what the community is when it comes to Atlanta United. And Ronald, if he could be the guardian of the bridge in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Literally, you have Graham Chapman and the king and the court going to the bridge. Ronnie would be the Black Knight right there at the edge of the bridge to defend everything involving Atlanta United. That's just how he's wired, and I love those kinds of interviews with him.
Like a flesh wound.
Yes, yeah, and literally that's it. Literally, Ronnie is like, "Oh, it's just a flesh wound," literally. Ronnie on the day, just to give you the numbers once again, filling in at left back, had an expected assist rate. There was an XA involving Ronnie at a quarter of a point. 4 clearances, 3 picks, a tackle, 1 dribble pass, 4 of 6 on his duels on the day, 3 of 5 in the air. He was fouled twice, 72 touches, 86% passing from left back, 42 of 49 connected on a cross, and 3 of 4 on his long balls. And so while we are waiting for Pedro Amador to get to 100% healthy so Hawkeye can send in crosses from the left like he does, you have folks like a Luis Abram, and you have a Ronald Hernandez, you have Matt Edwards who's learning. So the depth that you have assembled back there, and yes, DCQ, when it comes to the point where he's felt to be comfortable giving you minutes out there, the back line has that depth that you may not have been looking at in the past. You add Noah Cobb, you add Efra Morales. So the back line has that depth that Ronnie Deila can sit there and plug and play where he may need individuals going forward.
Yeah, it's kind of a luxury, and I think maybe to some degree for a lot of people, a guy like Shankwe has popped up and almost been out of nowhere in a way, because I think before this year, when you kind of had this conversation about outside back depth, you were like, all right, well, this is now the next thing that they need to focus on. And then a guy like Shankwe comes in, he's like, hey, but I'm here and I want to be that guy.
However,
and then Matt Edwards goes out day one and helps the team to a win. And I genuinely thought he was going to get subbed off in the 60th, 70th minute.
But it looked like that maybe he had hit that wall, but he pushed through it. And I think that's just as important for a young pro to push through that wall and understand that there's more there inside you that you can give in those final 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think sometimes we talk about that kind of thing where it's like finding that next level, right? It's not a pep talk. That is like a legitimate thing. If you've ever been in that kind of sport where like you feel like, God, I'm about to fall over, throw up, and like it is possible to find that extra bit of energy to push through for another 10, 15, 20 minutes. And it shows you that you can do it. And I know a lot of people kind of had some complaints about Ronnie Deila's, I don't want to say hesitancy, but the slowness on bringing in subs when he did. And I think there's something also to be said about having guys that are dog tired, and then they figure out a way to fight through it and then go win the game. And of course, like I get that Edwin Mosquera was a sub, late sub, that scored the game winner, but I think in previous iterations of Atlanta, those subs would have came 20 minutes before and maybe not have been as effective because the other team also is not quite as tired. So, but yeah, as far as like the defenders, as far as, Matt is concerned, a lot of these guys, like it's not just about also finding that extra gear for yourself. It's about figuring out how to play with your teammates when things aren't all sunshine and roses. Like when you're hurting, when you're like not thinking straight because you've been running nonstop for the past hour and a half, almost. Finding a way to make those passes, and be as disciplined as your coach wants you to be and be as crisp on the ball as you want to be. It's easy to do when you've been, when you're just opening whistle, kickoff, legs are fresh, whatever. But it's a totally different ball game when you're dog tired 80 minutes in and you're just trying to figure out a way to win the game. And this showed that they can do that. So it's a big boost of confidence, but especially for a guy like Matt.
All right, so let's go from, and I would probably say faithfulness, the trust in your own plan, I guess is probably how I would phrase it from Ronnie's perspective, as you're trying to mention sticking with that lineup for as long as you do and having that sense of, okay, now, literally it's like, all right, now I changed to fight left-handed. I was fighting right-handed, Rocky 2, it's like he's fighting right-handed, and then Mickey goes now, and then that's when you fight, yeah. So Ronnie Dyla is Mickey training Rocky in Rocky 2 right now. At least he was last week.
With the turtleneck.
Yes. And now pound the ring from the back to the front. And looking at, and I've got to dump Onyx into the music drops in only 7 seconds, so I don't get in trouble with the music police. But what did you think of the Four Horsemen in their first go round? Saba didn't have to be the guy. He didn't have to be the man. He just got to be a man as a part of this attack. What did you think of the front four?
I thought they were exactly what they needed to be, and I thought that there's lots of room still for improvement. And I admittedly didn't think Latte Lath was going to start, but he did.
However,
the only thing that could have made that day better was if Miggy scored a goal too, because the place would have just exploded. But besides that, like I think the front four seemed more or less on the same page, but it also kind of showed that they still have some connecting to do. I mean, admittedly, Latte Lath has only trained with those guys a handful of times. So to be getting on the ball, and it wasn't just his goals, right? He could have had, he was inches away from having a hat trick.
Mm-hmm.
He almost had 4 if you count the 1v1 that he had where he took the shot with his left foot in the first half. I mean, that's exactly what you want out of your guy, because he had solid hold-up play when he needed to, but he wasn't just purely a hold-up guy because he wants to run. He wants to get in behind the defenses. He did that multiple times, and then when we finally saw that, like, other gear that he has, everybody was like, holy crap, this guy's fast. And then the dude can apparently jump like Superman. I was not expecting that. So he's very well rounded, right? Like he has the poacher instinct. He can jump up and head a ball. He's very, very crisp on the ball. He takes, accurate, powerful shots. He can run faster than anybody apparently in the world, it seems like. So that was great. But then you add in Miggy being able to float and have freedom and kind of being another cohesive man next to Alexei Miranchuk.
Mm-hmm.
Miranchuk, I thought, had one of his best games because he was not being absolutely swarmed, because you can't do that. And this is the whole plan, right? Like, this is not a secret. Garth Lagerwey, Chris Henderson, they built this front four to help out Alexei Miranchuk, so he can be the one guy that's connecting the front and back mainly. Last year he couldn't do that because the moment he would get on the ball, the $13 million player, he gets absolutely swarmed by everybody. So they said, hey, now let's bring in a guy named Miguel Almiron, swarm Miranchuk if you want to, see what happens. So it freed him up. He had I know he had one shot on goal. I can't remember how many total, but he was much more a part of the attack, which was really good to see. And then, Miggy with the assist, but then Saba's just over there like, hey, leave me alone if you want to. He had a couple of good shots. Of course, he gets, he's still taking crosses, so he gets credit for that. But I was highly encouraged because if this is day one of these guys really getting to play together, imagine what it'll look like, 3 months from now.
Miranchuk's numbers played the full 90. The XG plus XA goes to a 0.4, 0.11 with the goals and 0.29 with the assists. 55 touches, 78% accurate passing, 29 to 37, one key pass on the day. 2 crosses out of 4 attempts, 4 of 5 on long balls for Miranchuk in match number 1. 1 shot on target, 1 shot off target, 1 shot blocked. So he hit each column with one of those. 3 for 6 on his ground duels. Fouled twice, 2 clearances, and 1 tackle for Miranchuk on the day. So you mentioned Latte Lat. So I'm taking requests. Which goal? Actually, tell you what. Okay, so we'll play the first goal. Which version would you like to hear before we go into the discussion? We have 3 separate versions. Which one would you like to hear? We have Callum and Kalen. We've got Mike and Jason. And we have the Spanish version. Which would you like to hear?
I'll always go with Mike and Jason.
All right. So then let's go with Mike and Jason before we get into our Emmanuel Latte Lat discussion. Once again, courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Take advantage of your break, Atlanta. It's their 6th corner of the first half coming up here. Saba to send it down to the near corner goal to our left. Here it comes to the back post. Header! Score! To Atlanta, Latte Lat. And the L train opens this.
So we have and we have the L train, because you got to take the L sometimes to get from point A to point B. You got to take the L.
Yeah.
And he certainly was the L train getting the hops. What I don't think folks looked at in the periphery of that play is that Latte Lat beat Stian Gregerson to the ball. And we know Gregerson's vert. We know his vert. And you see him doing he behind Latte Lat. You see Stian making his lunge and header, and that would have gone in and probably ripped an Isaac McAdoo-ish like hole in the back of the net if Gregerson had made contact. But Latte Lat jumped out of the gym, as I said in the building, jumped out of the gym and headed it past Sirois for the goal. So you've got that height, but then once again, on a set piece, who do you defend? Saba's going to send it in. Then what do? Do you defend Miggy on the edge of the 18? You have folks crashing with Latte Lat with his vert, Gregerson with his vert. Williams has been known to have vert on occasion too. So you're creating matchup problems and decisions in one-on-one matchups now off of set pieces as well, where a lot of folks last season might have been pinned in with one choice, and that's all they needed to do was make the one choice, and the set piece would go by the wayside for Atlanta United.
It kind of cracks me up thinking about it, because you have, nobody knew, that was maybe the part that was left out of the sales pitch for Latte Lat was his ability to jump. But and it definitely took Montreal by surprise. But I think what makes me laugh is just imagining being a Montreal defender during this sequence, right? And you see Saba getting ready to take the kick, right? He holds up his hand, he's signaling he's about to kick, whatever. And then maybe out of the corner of your eye, you see this massive Norwegian guy just running full sprint at you, and you're like, oh crap. And you go up to defend because you're like, well, this ball's coming for that guy. And here he comes. And then all of a sudden, Latte Lat just appears out of nowhere and floats up to the heavens to head this ball in. And you're like, it wasn't the Norwegian guy. It wasn't him. And then Norwegian guy's inertia and momentum carries him all the way through the line and into the net.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was a great surprise, because I fully expected
that wasn't on his huddle tape, man.
No, not even kind of. But I was like, oh, this is Steon all day. Like the moment I saw him take off running, I was like, oh, this is like off the trading ground. Like they know what they're trying to do here. And I think it kind of maybe had everybody fooled. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's just about putting the ball up there and letting somebody go get it, you know? But I just don't know that Latte Life, like, I don't know if anybody knew that he could jump that freaking high. So really, really, really good to see. But Steon had me cracking up because he just kept going. He just kept going.
It's like, well, I thought the ball was going to be there. It's going to be there at some point. He just ends up, he follows the ball into the net. You mentioned Miggy, so let's get into Miggy's stats for match week 1. SofaScore had him at a 7.6. Like I said, I don't know what their scoring parameters are, but anyway, it's like you can't give anybody too high a mark. So, you know, Miggy gets like a 7.6. Miranchuk gets a 7 from SofaScore. I'm like, okay, sure. Latte Lot, by the way, an 8.4 with the 2 goals. So Miggy, 89 minutes with a curtain call. The combined lowercase x, a 0.27, had the one xg for a 0.03, and then a quarter of a point for his expected assists. 63 touches, 76% passing, 38 of 50, 2 key passes, 4 of 4 on long balls for Miggy in the matchup against Montreal. Had 1 shot block, 3 of 4 on the dribble, 6 of 8 on ground duels won. Didn't win the one in the air. Twice he was fouled and had a tackle as well. So 6 of 8 ground duels, which is what we anticipate. 3 of 4 on the dribble, which is what we anticipate. 4 of 4 on long balls. I thought that was really interesting where Miggy was concerned, 76% passing. And so welcome back home, number 10.
I mean, all that was missing was the goal, right? Mm-hmm. And he almost had the one that Latte Latte ended up scoring the brace on. You know, he had opportunities, and I think one thing that I noticed too was he seemed to be trying to work on and continue to improve his opposite side. Mm-hmm. That is one, I think, criticism that maybe he had in the Premier League was we know his left foot, but he needs work with the other foot. If that's one critique about Miggy, I guess, there it is. But he tried a couple of shots with that right foot. And the fact that he's getting into those positions is what you want to see. Like, that's a good sign that he's getting into places, you know, inside the box where he can take a shot. And it's not, you know, I've got to play across. Like, you're getting in positions where it makes sense to take a shot. But it's not just that. It was, like I said earlier, the cohesiveness with him and Alexei Miranchuk being able to kind of play off each other and communicate well, it seemed like, and not necessarily occupy the same space all the time. And it's also, I think it worked out well because Miggy can go from that guy that's playing as a number 10 that's holding the ball and kind of facilitating things to at the drop of a hat, he is gone with the ball. Whereas Alexei Miranchuk is kind of that ball controlling to a degree, number 10, the guy that's going to play the through balls and all that stuff. So if you have both of them, let's say starting at center circle when possession is won for Atlanta, you have a guy there that you can play the ball to who can then has the vision and the ability to play in any of the other attacking 3. And the other guy who's also playing as a pseudo number 10 has the speed to get behind everybody. And then you have another guy who runs faster than I think anybody in MLS at this point. Also running. Like, that is such a good place to be because it just spreads everything out. But as far as Miggy's part, I mean, I think it just showed again how well-rounded he is. And he has the vision. He can play the long balls over the top, which we've seen before. But like, I agree. Like, it was maybe a little surprising that he was as accurate as he was. And that sounds like kind of negative, but it's just not something you typically see with him because usually he's the one getting on the end of these long balls. Mm-hmm. And for him to turn and be able to take, you know, a long pass, a big switch over the top to the other side, that's just another thing that defenses are going to have to watch out for.
Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes, hanging out with us as long as his internet will hold up, and then we'll see how quick the switch is for his Wi-Fi hotspot. And of course, the fact that we have discussed the back four and the fact that we have discussed the attacking four means that we have not discussed the offensive line equivalent for Atlanta United, and it's those two holding midfielders in Click, Click, Boom, in Click and Sleesh. And I think that if you have a day like you had with a win and things being as active as they are, Click and Sleesh, they may not be getting a whole lot of conversation, but that's like the offensive line. You only talk about them when something goes wrong. It was another solid day. Click being the instigator on offense when he needed to be, and Bart hanging back and being the defensive six when he needs, and then engaging in the play when you need him to do that. So once again, so day at the office in quotation marks for those two, because we didn't talk about them a whole lot until now.
Yeah, I think then you add in Slish with an almost banger.
Mm-hmm.
It felt good to kind of see that spine acting as almost one unit, and then you take into account the entire team. They were very spread out in terms of how they attacked and how they played out of the back, and it wasn't just let's play the ball out to a winger or out to an outside back and then forward to a winger. It was like you never knew kind of how the ball was going to be progressed, which is that's what you want, right? You want to be unpredictable. Sometimes it's coming right through the middle, sometimes it's going out right, and then hey, when it comes out right, here comes the big switch over to the far left. You never know. But Slish and Click, they're vital parts of that, and they also have to be goal dangerous, because if they're goal dangerous, who do you defend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Slish taking that shot early in the first half, that was very encouraging to me. But beyond that, I mean, we've seen defensively how he's been told, whoever the number 6 is, but in this case him, to drop in as another center back at times, but then you're also helping progress the ball forward. And then Click is really that main central guy who he is the definitive, like, I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna drop back and defend. I'm also gonna be high up in the attack when possible. And then they communicate well together. But it was interesting talking to Click after. This is their first actual match together, and they, of course, they know each other very well. Polish internationals, like all of that, but this is their first time actually playing in a match together, he said. And I think, again, we talk about communication, and the preseason is the preseason. Those are preseason matches. You're starting to get your kind of, where are you going to be at this time? Where are you going to be when I do this kind of thing? And that'll continue to grow as they play competitive matches together. And because I really do think like that's the pairing. I loved in the second half when they brought in Jay, because I felt like you needed a little bit of speed to counteract maybe the tired legs. But I think overall, as a pairing that just keeps things kind of controlled, the tempo, keeps things in pace, Slish and Click seem like they're going to be a really good pairing.
And so, are you going to Charlotte this weekend?
I am not going to Charlotte. Sydney will be there covering the match. I will not be. My son has a really cool competition that he is part of this weekend. So, and we have our weekend is packed. So, I will be covering the game from home as I get home from his competition.
So he's going to crush it in the video games 21st century competitions.
Yeah, he has been going nonstop with this game.
Yeah,
since, he won the regional thing. So yeah.
So you go from regional to state.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so state esports. Keep an eye on that. Then follow along on the official GHSA 280 character account. Charlotte, got a handful of minutes here before we meet the match race finish line for you and your internet installation for Wednesday. Charlotte.
So far, so good.
Yeah. You've got a team that we know the background, we know the rivalry. Hammer was dropped on day number 1, and there's been some changes with personnel. The offense is there from last season. You had Pep Biel, you had Wolf Zaha, and you had own goal now as the co-leading scorer for Charlotte, getting the late equalizer all the way in Seattle. They had to stay an extra day, because of plane issues. It wasn't like anything when they were on the tarmac or anything. They got in late, I want to say, or very, 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 very late, very, very early Monday morning. And it's, I imagine there's going to be a lot of 17s making the 3.5 hour trip. So it is yet another instance of Charlotte and Atlanta going at each other on that surface at B of A. What are you expecting for Atlanta as they chase after an improving back line on one side, and then it's Tim Ream on the other side, and some folks that can put the ball in the back of the net? Are you going to take the over in this one too?
Yep. Yeah, I think this would be a totally different conversation if the Atlanta's defense was kind of where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're looking at this from a Charlotte point of view, and considering the changes that you made in your roster going into the season, you're going to pick on the outside backs. That's what you're going to do. And I'm curious to see how Ronnie handles it, not being at home. But then you always have to go back to that one statistic that over the past 2 seasons, Atlanta has won the games at the Vault.
Mm-hmm.
The inverse of that, of course, is that Charlotte has won the games at the Benz. But we're not playing at the Benz tomorrow or this weekend. So,
right.
If you're a believer of that kind of thing, then you should be looking at a win. But to take all that out of the equation, I do think Atlanta comes away with a win. I really do, and I do think it might be a little bit of a shootout. But this is another opportunity for Latte Loth now that he's had another week of fitness, another week of training, another week of getting to know Miggy, having dinner with him, going out with Miranchuk, hanging out. Like,
below my name is name tags, not necessarily needed as much.
Yeah, not anymore. I think you see something really, really special, and I think he scores, and I think Miggy scores. And don't ask me the rest of them because I'm sure there'll be more than that. I think, but those are the two that I would, if I were a juice box person, that would be the juice boxes.
Okay. I would probably posit, considering past history, that it might be Matt Edwards. If you apply what has happened in the past with Caleb Wiley, and how things have been in Charlotte in years past. So maybe it's Click and Slish working their way on the outside. Maybe it's Matt Edwards filling in the Caleb Wiley role early in the match at the B of A. Tonight, what are you guys up to? Hopefully you'll have your new internet by then.
Hopefully I will. I hope I have my new internet by that time. No, 7:00 we'll be on. We'll be previewing Charlotte, be talking about everything. We'll have DJ EU on with us.
There you go.
Tonight.
Is he going to spin some tunes on the ones and twos live stream?
Oh, it depends on if we can get away from YouTube trying to get us a trademark or copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we'll see. But we'll have him on. It'll be a good time. And then if y'all haven't seen, Henry is also doing a new video series where he chats with, opposition podcasters, journalists, fans, whoever happens to be available at the time. And that's typically on Thursday.
So Ache is doing opposition research, is what
he
he's
is.
doing.
He's doing the op research. Doing a good job with it too. It was a good one that he did with Montreal last week. Lots of good insight, about Montreal going into that match. So super informative.
No doubt about it. We made it. You've actually, now you can go with your cup of coffee, and you can go to the Scarves and Spikes website and get the gear, like what's on his head, what he's sipping his coffee out of this morning. Oh, what is the coffee, by the way, sir?
So this coffee is actually a Colombian coffee. Oh man, I don't remember the name of it. Anyway, I'll report back next week, but it's actually good. And it's so good that I actually have to use the, the Keurig, the one that you actually can put your own grounds into.
Oh,
it warrants its own use of taking away the convenience of just throwing a K-cup in there and actually filling this with grounds. It's quite tasty.
Wow. Okay. So he's going to take the remainder of his Keurig smashed Colombian ground coffee and go outside and backseat drive the gentleman who's trying to install the new internet at the Casa de Pilgrim. As always, my friend, great to see you. And as you always know, you can crash at any time. And good luck this weekend with the state esports competition type stuff. So
absolutely.
how do you, before you go, how do you heckle in an esports competition? How do you?
I mean, well, there's a lot of ways. You could just go flip off the internet.
True, but I mean, in play, like if you're not going to unplug the internet, how do you heckle the opposition?
To be fair, this is not the playing of video games, esports. This is actually building a video game.
Yeah.
But as far as heckling,
wrong code. What are you doing?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I could say some stuff but I'm not going to say it on air. That involves, your mom jokes and control sticks.
You put the wrong codec in there. Ha 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 ha
ha. I'm so glad you said that. I couldn't do it with a straight face.
Oh, come on now. That's easy. It's just,
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to come up with some good heckler type video game related.
See? Video game construction heckling. Yeah. Live while it's happening. You put the wrong USB cord in there. That's why you don't have a signal. That's what's wrong with you. What's wrong with your Wi-Fi? You can't get a signal. You can't construct it right. One of those.
I feel like this is a conversation that you have with your computer every morning.
Guilty as charged. Go heckle the guy installing the internet. Good to see you, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
All right. See y'all. Appreciate it.
Tyler, and they're going to do Scarves and Spikes tonight. I could just see it right now. Let's see. What else could be wrong? It's like you're installing a program. Where's your controller? Oh, that's straight out of Atari 2500. Ha, it won't work. One of those kind of things. I could see that. As always, thanks for Tyler dropping by in hour number 1. Time for all of our promos and the AM news and all the stories that are fit to print. And we say hi to everybody here as well. So let's say hi to everybody here as we kick off hour number 2 and get everybody in the that's a good question, Ropes. Oh, I know why. Hang on. Because Jason was the last to use it. That's why. Yeah, so Jason used it last night for Atlanta Soccer Tonight. And so Ropes paying attention to the font, the lower third over here, that it had me as Jason. So literally, it was one of those. So since Jason was the last person in the studio space, he put the font to reflect his name, and I didn't realize that it was reflecting his name until Ropes told me. 49 minutes into the show. Nothing like that, not noticing. And that's one of the things, because it's down there at the bottom. It's, I'm sitting here trying to push buttons and try to figure out what's going on. But yeah, no, 49 minutes into the show. And actually, for me, 58 minutes into the show before I fixed it. So that's why. So that's what's going on. So, yes, Ropes, thank you. That's why I was labeled as Jason. So good morning, David. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Lokeville Batson watching on YouTube. So good morning and welcome. First time viewer. Don't be a stranger. So good to have you in this morning. Morning, Pars. And let's see. And Pars mentioning the back line. Another way to look at it, 75% of the starting back line was not in the field at any point. And so it was, it was pieced together against the Montreal attack. And, once again, come Friday, Jason will join us at 10:30. And we'll see if there's any intel as to the health of Pedro Amador, if it's going to look the same with Ronnie and Matt on the outsides. Maybe Derek getting healthy during the week. You end up with Derek Williams, Steon Gregerson as your starting center backs. We'll take a peek at it as we go. So that's the rundown at the back. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Alex. And Emilio Latte Lotta, good ball handler and passer, and was last week. Pars mentioning the run, Miggy in the center, and but once again, and so Pars is mentioning there was a point where Miggy was open and he did not receive a pass. But once again, that's in-game state, and your brain's working, 75,000 miles an hour, and you're still trying to get acquainted with folks. So you're still seeing things, and there were a couple of passes that were behind and some that had a little too much speed on them. That's going to happen here early on in game state. And it's just judging the pass, judging the surface, judging the individual and the connection rate. And so it's those kind of things that as the season goes, you anticipate those connections becoming more second nature than they were, and having all the practice and having everybody there and not wearing the hello, my name is name tags, and understanding what the individual player wants, where they want it. Do they want it to lead on their left foot? Do they want it on their right foot? Are they okay chasing after something if they see an opening? behind the back of the defense. All that stuff is just getting acquainted with one another. That's happy hour. That's soccer happy hour, otherwise known as practice. Ricky, might be a T-shirt by the time we're done. needs to be a thing. David discussing the offensive linemen, the two holding midfielders. Matt Edwards had some rough turnovers. First half, second half, no real issues other than marking in a few spots. David, once again, Noah Cobb. When Noah came on trying to get Derek Williams to step up, hold the line, to talk and be a boss in the back for a young player showing strong leadership on the field, no doubt about it, and it's great to see. And we've seen this from Noah Cobb since the absolute beginning. We've seen it from the absolute beginning with Noah Cobb. Playing quality minutes with the twos when he was 15, starting when he was 16, jumping into the fray with the first team and practicing with the first team, and you end up right now with Noah Cobb putting in the minutes that he did against Messi and friends in the playoff series to secure things down in game number 3. So you're seeing you're seeing who is attached in those kinds of ideas. So Noah Cobb once again continues to grow as a part of this team structure. Dominic Chong-Kui, it's his turn to continue to grow. Matt Edwards, we've seen what Matt Edwards has brought to the table, and now he's getting those first team reps. So Dominic Chong-Kui is the next one in line at left back U. So we'll see how it, or outside back U, either OBU or LBU, however you want to phrase it. But once again, Dominic Chong-Kui now is a part of that discussion. And he's earning his place, whether that's first team rosters on 18s. Trust me, with multiple cup competitions or multiple scheduling competitions, DCQ is going to see some minutes somewhere. Whether it is with the first team in first team games that are attached to Major League Soccer or in cup competition. So DCQ at this rate is going to be seeing minutes. And it's good to see once again the younger players for Atlanta United continuing to step up and not be intimidated by their surroundings. So very, very cool stuff there. Morning, Abby. Abby is in hour number 2. All right, time for the promos here as it is early in the 10 o'clock hour. Once again, remember, 12:15, soccer is in session. We catch up with Matt Cheeves, the head coach at Dalton. On the boys' side, we catch up with Will Homskis, the head coach on the girls' side at Lincoln County. Perhaps Matthew Hazlip will join. I sent the email to Coach Homskis, and I said, well, if Matt wants to join, he can. Lincoln County off to their best start ever in boys' history. And as those two have continued to build the soccer program in general, the girls' program, 2 consecutive Sweet 16s, and they've made runs into the playoffs where they continue to grow there as well. Boys side 4-0 for the first time ever in school history. And that 4th win came against Thompson on Monday night on Monday Night Football on the SDH network. So we'll discuss that with them. And then at 12:45-ish, Ryan Burkhart, the head coach on the girls' side at North Gwinnett, will join us. So 12:15 will be the kickoff for Soccer's in Session week number 2. And then we will continue there. Those are the coaches and those are the schools that we'll catch up with 12:15 to about 1:15. And then that will be part of that's the activity today. We've got an interview set up with Rochester, New York FC's Academy and Rory Charcola. We caught up with him before. Now the Academy is joining the NPSL. We'll catch up with him in a tape piece that will end up on the audio side. That'll be later today as well. We're catching up again with the Rory Charcola in Rochester. We do have some stuff that will be over on the college basketball side of things. That show should be out either late Thursday, early Friday over at OSG Sports. And that'll be fun. Catching up with Steve Quist, the play-by-play voice for UC San Diego on ESPN+. So we get the education about the Tritons and UC San Diego on the college hoop side of things. So very, very cool stuff there. And Alex, to Alex's point, 3 homegrowns out at the same time in a game that mattered. Yes, absolutely true. And to see that development with Atlanta United in the system, that's another one of those things that, and Alex, I'm going to put a bookmark in that. Next time that we have the discussion about Atlanta United, probably on Friday, I'm going to put a bookmark in that idea, as that is the expectation. involving Atlanta United and the academy, that when you are called upon and the coaching staff thinks you are ready, that you will be called upon and you will be there to help close the door in a match or be out there and perform as you are expected to perform. But yeah, 3 homegrowns out there at the same time in a game that mattered. And Abby is 100% true. Got to come see the twos. Then once again, that's why we have been following the twos ever since day one. Because then you can sit there, you and the collective can sit there and go, yeah, I saw him with the twos. I know that this person can do this, 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 and this. And we've seen them grow since day one, and they are ready to do their thing. So having those kinds of, that kind of a knowledge base, that kind of exposure to the academy and to the twos, that's why we have it as a part of the network. So it's all part of the process, all part of the process leading to the first team. So when you're looking at a first team, you can sit there and go, yeah, I remember Noah Cobb when he was 15. Yeah, he's grown a lot since then. So that's why. And so Action at the Fraction starts, I believe, next Friday. And next Friday, it is Red Bulls 2, the day before the matchup with Red Bulls at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And if memory serves, let me grab the sheet. We have a 4-page composite schedule. 4-page composite schedule laying out everything here on the network, possibles, broadcasts, crew assignments, that kind of a thing. And we are toward the bottom of page 1. But Atlanta United and Red Bulls, Friday night the 7th at 7:30. Pre-game show obviously will start on the SDH network a little before that. 7:15 maybe 7 o'clock, depending on how much content we have on the turn. So the day before, Atlanta United and Red Bulls at MBS, the twos and Red Bulls 2 up at Kennesaw, 7:30 kick, pregame show to start, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. So our coverage of the twos starts next Friday the 7th with Red Bulls 2 coming to town in MLS Next Pro. And Abby, yes, the new piano is darker in color. Yes, it is. This is part of everything. I finally had my armrest back. And it was 2 days ago after the show, and we found out, for those that were with us on Monday, and I was thinking that it might be delivered during the show. Since they are movers that are based in Alabama, they operated on Central Time, so our times were an hour off Eastern Time. So an hour after the show was over, the piano gets delivered, and I have my armrest back. And yeah, it is darker, and this is the piano that is coming from Patty's house in her hometown. So this is the family piano that was there at her house in her hometown, and so needs to be tuned, and we know that, but it is now here, and I now have my armrest back. So that more importantly, I have my armrest back. We have the piano. It has been delivered, and it came through the back, and it was an experience to have it traversed through mud and straw and rocks to get it here, and it is now once again an armrest, and so everything is whole with Studio HD. So that happened Monday after the show was over. But yes, the new piano is here. The piano in the sense of new in its location, not new because it is a brand spanking new, Steinway or something. But no, I mean, it plays notes just like everybody else, just a little out of tune. Okay. Time to get into the promos and go through the rest of the day to get you ready for everything else going on. We've got the Triple C. We've got She Believes Cup late tonight, 10:30. And you can watch that across TNT and Max and all the other places. We'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all the news from overseas, and all the stuff that will get your day started here coming up in a bit. All right. All the promos. Now, once again, we mentioned, as we always do, that you can become a fanatico. Let me grab my phone. You can become a fanatico on the SDH network, and you can do that for $10 a year. And you go, well, what can you do with $10 a year? Well, you can become a fanatico on the SDH network, and what you do is you go to the Chant app, as I sit here and lift up my phone, and you get discounts from a lot of cool places, get to have conversations with a lot of other fanaticos, and you help out our Soccer for Good campaigns. So once again, go download the Chant app, and you can become a fanatico on the SDH network. Just to give you an idea of the places that you can get discounts, just to give you an idea. Once again, this is $10 a year, and it's Soccer for Good, and you get discounts in places like the Brass Tap in Marietta, the Moxie Hotel in Midtown, 20% off hotel food and beverage by being a fanatico with SDH. Schoolhouse Brewing, South Main Brewing in Watkinsville, Slow Pour in Lawrenceville, Atlanta Hard Cider, half off flights, limit 1 per visit. Round Trip Brewing in Marietta, Social Fox in Norcross, Keys to Flavor Catering, 15% off your first catered event, and they're based in Sugar Hill. Fado Midtown, you have 10% off all food tabs. O'Sullivan's here in beautiful downtown Decatur, and it is 10% off of merch, 10% off your bill. Lloyd Soccer, 20% off select Atlanta United gear. Dad's Garage, Chateau Arenal. If you want to go to Chateau Arenal in San Ramon, Costa Rica, 10% off of any booking. You want to go to Costa Rica and go to Chateau Arenal, 10% off. Battle and Brew, Tires Plus and Alpharetta, $25 off alignment services, off of oil changes, and $50 off of 4 tires. Wild Leap Brewing as well. So those are the places, and others are looking to join and be a part of the family. So, once again, Chant app, download it, go to Soccer Down Here, and be a part of our Fanaticos family. Only $10 a year, helps out Soccer for Good, and you can go to a bunch of cool places and get a lot of cool discounts by being a Fanatico. Don't forget, Olive in New York, you can get the first ever SDH jersey presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thanks to Kaiser Permanente, thanks to Beyond Goals Mentoring, thanks to Soccer for Good. And you can go to Olive in New York, get your Navy jersey, get it personalized either in white with letters and numerals or in the Carolina blue with letters and numerals. And you can have the first ever SDH jersey. You can have that by going to Olive in New York. You can go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I still have to figure out how to transfer the QR code still, so you guys can hit the QR code over my face. Start your day with Kickoff Coffee. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. You've seen me, and I've got to find out where it is because I just washed it. The Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear that Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. have. You pick that up either in the red or in the black with the gold lettering, and you help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. That's the help with our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. with that relationship that we have this year. So it's middle school soccer programs at Grady Baby Co. All of our Soccer for Good with Olive in New York picking up the jersey, and Kickoff Coffee to kick off your day at Kickoff Coffee using the code SoccerDownHere15. So all of those different things are there for helping us out here and our campaigns here in 2025. You want to help out the Marshall Islands, you can buy the gear on the Marshall Islands site, but you can get the scarf from me. Still have about a dozen left. So if you want a Marshall Islands scarf and you buy all the other gear, they ship all the other stuff, the jerseys and the bucket hats and all that stuff, they ship that from England. The scarves come from me. So if we run into each other, I can hand you the scarf then. If I'm not going to run into you, I'll just mail it to you. So let me know just how it will be if you want to give back to the Marshall Islands. So you can help them out. We're going to have Lloyd Hours, their technical director, on when he gets back to England. Right now, he's on the island, and it is, I think it's a 17-hour difference time-wise. And so 17 hours would be 3 o'clock in the morning. And so right now, Lloyd Hours is helping conduct clinics and futsal tournaments between island personnel. So they're growing the game through futsal first to get a knowledge base of the sport. And then that's what they're doing on the islands here in the mainland in the U.S. It is the second largest Marshallese population in the Four Corners, in Northwest Arkansas and in Eastern Oklahoma and in Missouri and Kansas, up there in the Four Corners. And they had a clinic in Minnesota a couple months back in the winter. So They're growing the game. They're trying to continue to grow the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Get the scarf from me. Get the other gear from Matt Webb and everybody there in England at the headquarters. So you can do that. And yes, 4Card, I am always going to be in a position to talk about Cruton. A, always be B, C, Cruton. Always be Cruton. So 4Card's going to be out Cruton today. A, always be B, C, Cruton. That's how it is. So once again, download the Chant app on your phone. Be a part of the Fanaticos at SDH. And you can have conversations kind of like in the Discord, but you can do it with the other Fanaticos on the Chant app as well. So that is the breakdown, I think, of everything. And Abby's going to take a nap before she believes. Ropes. Piano moving is a tumultuous experience. It is, because you have to hope that the piano itself doesn't get damaged. And I know they drape it in the blankets and everything, and they wrap it on the sides and all that. But there's always that fear in the back of your head that something's going to happen. It's going to get jostled, Came from Southeast Alabama, and it came in one piece, although there does have to be some fastening of some runners down low and some of the trim. But, I mean, like I said, it is a family piano. I mean, you're talking about something that I want to say safely is at least 50 years old, if not 60. And so it is now here with us here in Office HD. But, yeah, it was moved from Southeast Alabama, and they brought it in the backyard, and the guys looked at the backyard, and they're like, wow, okay, that's a challenge. And they navigated the challenge, got it up the steps, got it through the back patio door, and here it is. So it does exist. Do have other people move the piano. That's the bottom line. Always have others move heavier things that you know that you would have problems with, because God forbid you should ever have a pivot moment involving a sofa or something like that. It's bad enough when you have movers that are having to navigate staircases with bookshelves and bookcases, because that had to happen too. Up 1, 2, 3 flights of steps, front steps, and then 2 other flights to go to the top level to drop off some bookshelves and things like that. Or you bring them in through the garage door if they're just staying here. So, yeah, the moving experience has been out of control. Stuff coming from Southeast Alabama to here. There are boxes in the mid-level that have to be unpacked. There have been some things that have been placed where they're going to be placed. The boss has used her imagination when it comes to packing things and moving them all around and rearranging the furniture that we had when we're bringing in furniture that we have now in our possession. So, yeah, the whole thing is just completely out of control. So the moving is going on. The boss is still with the mom boss and trying to continue to get things out of the house and move it to the second location. And we will see how, and I wish the boss would send me a picture about how things are in the back of the automobile, moving things from location 1 to location 2. So that's the update on the move. But I think everything short of maybe a couple of items that can fit in the back of a car is coming from location 1 to here. The rest of it's going from location 1 to location 2 for the mom boss to have her second location now. So there you go. That's your moving update. And yes, piano is here. Last night in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, shocking no one. It was one of those moments that a lot of folks are going to sit there and go, yeah, kind of figured that might go down. So last night it was 2 matchups, and Sporting Kansas City had some work to do at the erector set. And late night it was LAFC and Colorado Rapids. And Abby, of course, reading our show notes. You have a moment like this that happened last night, once again, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and FS2.
Slips this ball through. Long run forward for Suarez. Allende's in the middle. Suarez back for Messi. Off his chest. Messi! He just continues to impress. A goal in both legs. 1-0 Miami. A goal that you could watch.
Not wrong. Once again, CONCACAF and FS2 for the call. By the time it was done, it was 3-1. So a Messi and friends win 4-1 in the aggregate. Messi, with that goal in the 19th minute, gave the early lead to the home side, and you could tell that it was at the erector set with all the noise that was being made, and it also wasn't -7 degrees with the wind chill. Allende scored at 45+1. Suarez scored at 45+3. It was in the barn, really, after 45. Memo Rodriguez scores it in the 63rd minute for the lone goal for Sporting Kansas City. They are going to take it. They interviewed Memo after the match, and they're going to take it as a learning experience and apply that information forward into the MLS season. So Messi and friends with the 3-1 win in the 8 o'clock match. And then the 10 o'clock match was tight for a while. It really was tight for a while. And by the time it was done, LAFC got the one goal really that they needed for insurance. So it was a 1-0 win for LAFC. Mark Delgado, who went cross town from Carson to downtown, going from LAG to LAFC, gets the win for LAFC, and they advance in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. And so looking at the bracket, and we'll get to the matchups tonight and the juice boxes that are attached to it. So right now in the bracket, it's LAFC and Columbus Crew. That one starts on March 4th. Then it is Cavalier going to be taking on Messi and friends, and this is in the upper left-hand section of the bracket. So you could have, if chalk happens, and the first match in Cavalier and Messi and friends is March the 6th, you could have in the left-hand side of the bracket in the round of 8, you could have LAFC or Crew going up against Messi and friends to get out of the upper left bracket and get into the Final Four. And so that is that's what you're staring at from that particular side of the bracket. When it comes to the activity tonight, here's what you have. It's a handful of matchups, and then once again, make sure that you have either FS2 or you can watch it however you do watch it. 6:30 tonight at TQL, FC Cincinnati with a 3-1 lead on Motagua. Motagua having to travel from Central America up to Cincinnati. Cincinnati in control. I will be intrigued to see what the lineup looks like for Pat Noonan. So that one is at 6:30. RSL and Herediano. That one is in Sandy, Utah. And so the work to be done there by RSL, and that one is at 8:30. And then your late game. So you have a choice. But legitimately, all you really should do maybe is just have more than one device fired up. Seattle and Antigua, that one is at 10:30 tonight. So 6:30, 8:30, and 10:30 is your CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza viewing for tonight. And there is a match on Thursday to put a bow on the whole thing. Tonight's bracket, since we mentioned upper left, you're looking at looks like a low right. So the winner of RSL and Herediano takes on the LA Galaxy, low right. Then you have Tigres, and they get the winner of Cincinnati and Motagua. That one starts on March 4th. The LA Galaxy series starts March the 5th, and that is low right bracket. Then you have the winner of Seattle and Antigua taking on Cruz Azul. That one starts March 5. That is in the upper right bracket as you follow along, and an interesting matchup in the upper right bracket. In the other half, it is Club America and Chivas. So upper right, Club America and Chivas. Cruz Azul taking on the winner of Seattle and Antigua, and it's probably going to be Seattle. So you would have America and Chivas starting March 5. Starting March 5, also Cruz Azul, and if chalk holds, Seattle. And so Seattle gets the gauntlet after having won the tournament. So you sir, get the gauntlet with the other Liga MX sides. And then you're looking at RSL perhaps taking on LAG March the 5th, and then Tigres taking on Cincinnati starting March the 4th. That's the right-hand side of the bracket. Then the last matchup to be determined is Monterrey, and they wait for Vancouver Whitecaps and Saprissa. And Vancouver, with their big result against Portland, they have a lot of at least internal momentum. I want to see what the lineup looks like on Thursday, but we'll get into the juice boxes on that one on Thursday. So juice boxes tonight in CONCACAF, just so you have them. It is no real surprise once again, and we discussed it yesterday. We'll see where the lines have shifted and if they truly have shifted toward the big favorites, and they continue to be the big favorites. So tonight, once again, 6:30, 8:30, and 10:30. It is FC Cincinnati. Kind of stayed about the same, minus 244, hosting Motagua, and this is just to win tonight. This is not the winning of the series, but to win tonight, FC Cincinnati minus 244, 90-minute draws of plus 376, and to win, for Motagua to win right now in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, it is a plus 528. RSL and Herediano, RSL a minus 345 at home, Herediano to win a plus 882, and your draw is a plus 408. Seattle a minus 370 at home, and Antigua is a plus 843 in the composite. Your draw for 90 minutes is a plus 438. Keep an eye on the Motagua one, because really, if Cincinnati feels that this is in the barn, do they care if it's a draw or not? Do they just have a 90-minute kickabout and just kind of go about things? So keep an eye on the early game, just because it's the early game and it's at 6:30. So Motagua, keep an eye on that one. Once again, plus 376 on the draw over 90 minutes, and to win north of plus 525. That has not shifted yet. It may by the time we're off the air, considering that it has shifted while we've been on the air in times in the past. So that's your CONCACAF Challenge Cup, Championship Cup, the whole freaking thing. So, so Derek's morning, Derek, by the way. Sporting did not look very good, and yes, Abby, Cincy should win. They should at the very least win. They should win tonight. Let's phrase it that way. If Pat Noonan puts the lineup out there that you anticipate he's going to put out there, goes somewhat first choice, really puts it to bed, then swaps after 60 minutes or so, anticipate Cincinnati being okay, everything's fine. But with the lead that they have at 3-1, do you just kind of sit there and it's like, yeah, and then do you rotate, knowing that you're playing on the weekend? So that's the question for Cincinnati tonight. And that is a question I only have for Cincinnati. I figure maybe RSL, once they get a number, then maybe they try to put things to bed in the final 30. And once again, the draw there is a plus 408. Seattle, I think, fairly confident at a minus 370. I think they take care of business, and they might do it pretty early by comparisons, because you look at those particular clubs and what their matchups are on the weekend. And let me check the times first, and let me see if there's anything that's out of the ordinary. So we mentioned that Atlanta is the early game. RSL is the second afternoon game on Saturday, and they play Seattle. So there is an onus on both of these teams to put this game to bed that they play tonight against Herediano and Antigua. So there is motivation for both of these teams to start first 11s, put the hammer down, put it to bed by the 60th minute, and then start rotating your folks out and getting your subs. So RSL and Seattle, 4:30 start Saturday afternoon. They're the second afternoon game after Atlanta United and Charlotte. So RSL and Seattle, they have some work to do tonight, trying to make sure that they will be as healthy as possible going into the matchup on Saturday. Or do they put the pedal down in the matchups tonight, play folks the full 90 minutes, and rotate their lineups for this TV game that is a standalone TV game at 4:30 in the afternoon on Saturday? That's the question. Do you go hammer down tonight, rotate on Saturday, and it just so happens that if both teams choose that particular decision, they play each other 4:30 in the afternoon Saturday after playing in CONCACAF Champions Cup on a Wednesday. So that means Thursday's a regen day. Friday is the travel day for Seattle to get into Salt Lake City, and then Saturday afternoon is game day. Right now, Seattle is an underdog at a plus 190. RSL is favored at a plus 146. So I will be intrigued what the lineups look like in the 8:30 and the 10:30 tonight for the record, Cincinnati is going to be at Philadelphia, and that scoring juggernaut known as Philadelphia Union. And they're one of the 7:30 games. But, I mean, you're going from Cincy to Philly, so it's not that big when it comes to travel aspect. But once again, you play tonight, then regen tomorrow, Thursday, and then you're either at home if you're RSL or you're traveling if you're Seattle and Cincy. Or maybe Cincy waits till match day and flies out first thing Saturday morning. I don't know. So Cincinnati, once again, they're an underdog, and that plummeted in a hurry. They're down to plus 185, literally 5 markers as we're discussing it. Philadelphia favored at home at a plus 125. Then Vancouver, just to give you the carried through on the string, Vancouver, they luck out, and they get to play Sunday afternoon against LAG at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, East Coast time, as one of the Sunday doubleheader. So Vancouver goes Thursday, Sunday. Everybody else Wednesday, Saturday, today. And then Messi and friends, they get the extra day before they're the late game on Sunday Night Soccer on Apple as they go to Houston to take on the Dynamo. And the juice boxes, they're pretty tight. Right now, they're pretty tight. Messi and friends on the road at Houston, a plus 158, and Houston at home is a plus 150. So those are the numbers that are attached to those. LAFC, by the way, is at home late game Saturday taking on NYC, and they're one of the few favorites on the minus side right now. NYC on the road, a plus 316. LAFC at home late game Saturday night after playing last night is a minus 132. Colorado, by the way, at home, they get a local 7:30 start. So they're a 9:30 Eastern time, having played against LAFC, and they are a plus 112 as they host Dallas at a plus 231. So interesting numbers across the board here. And how do the teams that are playing tonight, how do they respond, especially with a quick turn on Saturday? So that's a little subplot that we'll put to the side when it comes to all of these particular matchups. Let's get into news and things and all of the other stuff before we get into She Believes Cup tonight. And we'll hear from Emma Hayes coming up in just a little bit, discussing Japan, and we'll lay out all of your scenarios here. Basically, the short version is if the U.S. wins, they get She Believes. But because of superior goal difference, all Japan really needs is a draw. So if Japan draws the United States, or if they beat the U.S., then they get She Believes. If the U.S. wins tonight, She Believes, then they get, I believe it's their 8th She Believes Cup championship. So that's what's on the line tonight. 10:30 across all of your networks. And we'll keep an eye on that. Like I said, we'll hear from Emma Hayes coming up in just a bit. Interesting stuff involving Manchester United, and that scream that you heard was probably Drew Dickinson. Erik ten Hag, by the way, says that Gen Z footballers cannot take criticism. Next time that we discuss things with our friends Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza over at Beyond Goals, I want to bring this comment back. So in the Telegraph, Erik ten Hag says Gen Z footballers cannot take criticism, and this is in his first interview ever since he got sacked and got the big payout. James Ducker from the Telegraph, 2.5-year reign, and so very tense relationship with Rafa Varane. Ten Hag, according to Ducker, sometimes accused of adopting too much of a schoolmasterly approach with players at United. Ten Hag says that modern-day players don't like to be told they're not performing and need to be handled differently from players in past generations. So Ten Hag tells SEG Stories, quote, the player's well-being. How does he deal with the media? How does he deal with the fan reactions? How does he deal with social media in this world? All of that influences a player, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively. This generation, for example, they usually find it difficult to deal with criticism. Criticism really gets to them. The generation that I grew up in had much thicker skin. You could be much more direct with that generation. I was approached much more directly. If I would do that with my current group of players, I would demotivate them. If you single out this current generation, they find it offensive, and you will demotivate them with that approach. I've had outbursts, but with this generation, you choose different words and a different approach. Ten Hag says he's learned to adjust his approach during his career in coaching. Sir Alex, he says, quote, also belonged to the previous generation. With that generation, you could be much more direct in your communication and approach. Now, you have to convey the same message, but you have to choose a different approach. A player of this generation will feel ridiculed if you approach them like that. Our generation saw it as a gift that you have to unwrap because it will make you stronger. That approach was much more effective. The approach of the previous generation, you immediately know where you stand and what to work on. With this generation, you have to convert your message into a more tactful way to get the same effect. I've been a coach for 22 years, and you learn to automatically find out when you're in those kinds of situations. You'll find out that a strict approach is not effective, and adjust and have to communicate slightly differently, less harsh. You say nicer. You have to show the player more love, not less firm, just with more care. Our generation found that harder. This one needs it, end quote. Ruben Amorim said on Tuesday his players were affected by criticism on social media and from former players. Amorim said they feel the pressure that they need to win at Manchester United every time we lose, and every time they don't perform, there are a lot of people on social media and in the newspaper who are putting on a lot of pressure. Then they go to the pitch, try to fix things, but not in a good way. Thinking too much, not playing the way they're supposed to play. This is Ruben Amorim. The other people are talking about them all the time, all their friends, social media, former players, and they take it so personally, and sometimes it's really hard for them to turn things around, end quote. Ten Hag said he's going to take an extended break until at least July 1st, which I believe just happens to be the beginning of a new fiscal year. And it suggests that he will, not certain that he will return to football management. So Erik ten Hag said them things. Saudi Arabia apparently is preparing for a £200 million transfer bid to get Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. Mike McGrath, once again, for the Telegraph, Vinicius Jr. given the opportunity to become the world's most expensive player this summer. Real Madrid forward making a final decision on that £200 million move to Saudi Arabia. He is a concrete target, according to McGrath, for the Saudi Pro League. No shock. Early talks taking place over a move during the next window when his contract at the Bernabeu is in the final 2 years. Offered a chance to move to one of the PIF clubs in Saudi Arabia, with his team to be decided if a deal can be agreed. According to sources, he'll get the fee that matches the £200 million fee that PSG paid for Barca for Neymar in 2017. Package for a potential deal means it could be the most lucrative in football history. Once again, for Real Madrid, you got less than 2 years on a deal. Market value is going to start to decrease from next season onwards if he stays. Saudi deal is expected to go through if the player gives the move the green light. Because once again, it's when you sign a contract with a player, we always talk about maximizing the value of an asset. Player is an asset. And so you wait to that last year, you wait to that 6-month negotiating window, you could risk not getting anything in return. So while Vinicius Jr. is at this point of his game, then this would behoove Real Madrid if the player gets something that he agrees to with the PIF to go to the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. Basically, the PIF will sit there and say, all right, pick your club. And, I imagine he would want to go head-to-head against CR40. So we'll see. But right now, £200 million on the transfer. So Al Hilal would make sense, according to McGrath. King Saud bin Abdulaziz renamed the club in 1958, most decorated team in that league. Qualified for the Club World Cup in America this summer. And guess who they get in the group stage? Real Madrid. So intrigue is there. Trust me, the intrigue is there. Yesterday in the Premier League, a couple of different results, and we got matchups today as well. Yeah, we'll get to the Messi fine, and I mean it MESSI, the Messi fine. Messi was fined by the league for the hands to the neck. But yesterday in the Premier League, Brighton over Bournemouth 2-1. Bournemouth had fought back down 1-0. Then Danny Welbeck gets a goal to make it 2-1, Brighton with the win. Crystal Palace put 4 on Aston Villa yesterday. And my apologies to Pars with his newfound fandom. It was a long day, and everybody was wondering, where was this Crystal Palace? Where has it been? And there was a discussion on the networks that Crystal Palace now needs to change their approach when it comes to just hanging out at the lunch table. Hey, they've got this offense. They've got Jean-Philippe Mateta. They've got, Ismail Assar scoring a double. They need to change their approach. Okay. They got to get the financing to do it. That's the biggest thing. They got to find the money if they want to charge toward a European football competition instead of just happy to be here. Sitting at the edge of the lunch table and hopefully not getting anything thrown at them by one of the jocks. Hey, here, have some fruit. The cause was placed out in public yesterday that Crystal Palace now needs to make their approach. I don't know if they have the financing to do it. They'd have to probably find more investors because right now the Crystal Palace is just, they're on the hamster wheel. They're happy to be here. I don't know if they have the wherewithal or access to the wherewithal or the desire to, improve their lot and spend an ish ton more money and work their way up the table. Part of me just thinks, once again, Crystal Palace is just happy to be at the lunch table. Like I said, call was put out there after this effort yesterday against Aston Villa. Hey, you need to change your approach. So we'll see. Fulham beats Wolves to keep Ipswich and Leicester happy in the chase to get out of the relegation zone. Still a 5-point difference. Ipswich and Leicester have to steal a win someplace to kind of close the gap a little bit and really freak Wolves out. But Fulham beat Wolves 2-1 yesterday. Chelsea, no problem with Southampton. This game was over at the break. Second half, if you were listening to this game, second half, yeah, that was a rough one. Second half. Today, you got a lot of action at 2:30. Brentford and Everton, Manchester United, Ipswich, Nottingham Forest and Arsenal. That's a big one at 2:30 today. Spurs, Manchester City is at 2:30, and then the late game at 3:15 is Liverpool and Newcastle. And I know where Alex will be starting at 3:15 tomorrow, for 3:15 this afternoon. Going to try and find a place to watch said match. Right now, once again, everybody kind of clearing the decks for the weekend. Liverpool, 11 points clear. Arsenal has a match in hand, but that'd get you to 8. Nottingham Forest starts the gaggle at 3 with 47 points. 3 through 10 separated by 5 points. Forest, Chelsea, City, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham, Villa. That's your first chase group. Second chase group starts with Brentford in 11th at 37 points. 7 points separating 11 through 16. Brentford, Palace, Spurs, Everton, Manchester United in 15th ahead of West Ham on goal difference. And Wolves at 22 points starts the final group. Once again, Wolves 5 points clear of Ipswich and Leicester. Massive goal difference between Wolves and Ipswich and Leicester. By the way, Ipswich a -30, Leicester's a -34. Not quite averaging a goal per match. And then Southampton's out the door. 9 points through their first 27 matches, 2 wins, 22 losses. They've scored 19 goals all season and given up 65. So that's what? 54, 11 over 27, 2.4? 2.4 goals per match. That, last time I checked, ain't good. So it's been a long year for Southampton the second they walked in the door. Juice boxes today, by the way. Brentford a +122 at the G-Tech hosting Everton. Everton's a +219. Manchester United favored at home big at a -208 against Ipswich. Ipswich is a +5.25. Nottingham Forest, big underdog at home at the City Ground at a +283. Arsenal even money +100. Spurs a +231 hosting Manchester City, who's a +104. Concerns about Erling Haaland and his injury status or his health status, depending on your perspective. And then Liverpool and Newcastle. Liverpool a -217, and Newcastle is a +507 in the composite. Your draw is a +397 at Anfield. So that is the Premier League activity for today. Abby mentioned the fine on Messi for the hands to the person, and see if we can get the official the official wording of the news. Let me see if it ends up in the disciplinary committee decision. Messi is fined an undisclosed amount for violating the hands to the face, head, neck of an opponent policy. I didn't know that there was a hands to the face, head, neck of an opponent policy. And it's not in quotation marks either. Not in quotation marks at all. Undisclosed amount for violating the hands to the face, head, neck of an opponent policy. You'd like to think maybe it's quotes with some capitalization in there. Following the conclusion of Inter Miami's match against NYCFC on February 22nd. Luis Suarez also has been fined an undisclosed amount for violating the hands to the face, head, neck of an opponent policy during halftime of Messi and friends against NYC. So Luis Suarez, he got fined for something at halftime. Messi got fined for postgame. Brian Gutierrez has been suspended one match, so Greg Berhalter will not have him after he scores a brace in match number 1. Issued an undisclosed fine for violent conduct following his actions in the 56th minute of the matchup against Crew on the 22nd of February. So Gutierrez gets a brace, and you won't have him for the next go-round. Crap! I am screaming into the void. That's what happens when you clear your throat. Sorry about that. Nope, that's on me. So nothing like trying to, well, yeah. You didn't lose the sound. I hit the wrong button. So I tried to clear my throat, and I didn't unclear it. So there you go. Now I'm back. Try to do something quick, and then you end up not doing something quick. All right, anyway, to recap, I'll go back. Gutierrez for Chicago against Columbus. You end up with Gutierrez knocking the Columbus player down from behind as the Columbus player gets possession and keeps it. Gutierrez tries to win possession back. He doesn't, knocks the Crew player down, and then goes with a forearm shiver. I'm trying to recap here with actual audio and not a mute button. So Gutierrez gets a 1, and it was reviewed under disciplinary committee parameter 3. So disco parameter 3 sounds like a nightclub in New York City in the late 70s, early 80s. Basically, the disco looks at something that wasn't called, and they go back and retroactively sit there, and they'll go, okay, yeah, that's a red, or that should have been called, and it wasn't on review, either on the field or by VAR. So Gutierrez gets a 1-game suspension. Kamal Miller got his finger wagged at him for not leaving the field in timely manner after he got his red in Portland and Vancouver. So Kamal Miller in the 11th minute gets the red card. He's confused, takes his time leaving the field in the eyes of the officials. He got fined. So Brian Gutierrez fined and suspended for his movement in the matchup against Columbus. So Greg Berhalter will not have the guy who scored a brace for him in the matchup this weekend against DC United. So those are your disco moves today. And Maxi Morales got fined after the last Hudson River Derby as well. Okay, tonight, 10:30, Abby said she's going to be taking a nap to prepare for the end of She Believes. So bottom line, once again, this is from yesterday's Matchday -1 presser, courtesy of U.S. Soccer. Emma Hayes, they had the training session at the San Diego FC Performance Center in El Cajon, California. So once again, title on the line tonight, 10:30 Eastern, TBS, Universo, Max, Peacock, Westwood One. So you can pick it up however you wish to pick it up. It's at Snapdragon. Tonight, USA has to win to get their 8th overall She Believes Cup title. Japan has a superior goal difference heading into the match tonight. So Japan can get away with a draw. Basically, U.S. needs a result. They need to win to get their 8th She Believes. Japan just needs a draw, and then they get She Believes. So draw or win for Japan, they get the win. They get She Believes. U.S. wins, they get She Believes. Emma Hayes was asked about Japan yesterday at the MD -1, and here's what she had to say about the matchup and the challenges that Japan bring to the table, once again, courtesy of our friends at U.S. Soccer.
Well, the objectives for the camp for us was to deepen the playing pool by giving opportunities to less experienced players in high-pressured situations. So I think we've achieved that by playing everybody in our squad in these first 2 games. The second was to develop a better understanding and application of our blueprint, our way of playing, and that we could close the gap from the players that are the most experienced to the least experienced, developing the technical and tactical application of those things and see where that missing gap is. So as I've already said, in some instances it might mean that some players are ready for now and some are ready for later, but we won't know until we test that out. And finally, I think because it's a tournament setting, we get to emulate everything that comes with that and help develop the players in their application of everything you do the 22 hours.
Emma Hayes getting ready for the She Believes matchup of matchups tonight against Japan. Once again, 10:30 at Snapdragon. Either get in your naps or get your favorite caffeine to get you through the night, to get you ready for the matchup coming up once again, 10:30 USA and Japan on about 38 different networks, and including Westwood One as they start their contract with U.S. Soccer. Okay, let's see. Other news. I wanted to get into the story. Like I said, I know that Jessica Charman's ears are probably burning. Arne Slot has been separately. Arne Slot sidelined for the Newcastle match after a 2-game ban, so he will not be on the sidelines. Ruben Amorim says that the staff at Manchester United employees made redundant are, quote, paying the price for poor on-field performance, and that recruitment has to improve to address that problem. So once again, we talked about the redundancies. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to cut up to another 200, so it's looking like 450 right now when it comes to staff redundancies at Manchester United. And so Amorim was asked how the remaining staff and fans could be confident that this will help the club prosper. Amorim said, quote, it's easy for me to say all the pretty stuff. We have to improve recruitment. That's crucial. We need to improve the team. They are paying the price for our lack of success, and I can't say anything now that's going to convince the fans and all the staff that we're going to do it. We have an idea, but we need to be a better team and recruit better and not make a lot of mistakes in that department. So that was Ruben Amorim at his press conference when he was asked about the staff redundancies and everything that we have seen going forward. let's see. Okay, here we go. For Jess and Reading. And you know how we talked about ownership, and we called ownership out in the past when they haven't done anything, regardless of where it is. But we've been focusing on Reading because of Jess's ties to that club. Yesterday in the Morning Espresso, it was announced that Jason put in that it looks like there's an owner that's interested in negotiating with Dai Young to finally get Reading away from Dai Young. Matt Hughes at The Guardian, headline, proposed sale of Reading to Robert Platek faces conflict of interest concerns. One club exec, quote, at best, it doesn't look good. The firm that Platek works for has lent money to EFL clubs in the past. He's owner of Casa Pia in Portugal, and he owned Spezia in Italy and Sonderisque in Denmark. So now they have to figure out if American businessman Robert Platek has a conflict of interest. Reading announced that they'd entered, quote, a period of exclusivity with a potential purchaser. And so Platek sold his interest in Spezia. Now he is the co-head of global credit at BDT and MSD Partners. MSD Partners, you may remember, that's Michael Dell. Michael Dell has become a major lender to EFL clubs, did it during COVID-19, and has commercial arrangements. I think he had an arrangement with Burnley. That sticks into my head. MSD has lent tens of millions, Burnley, West Brom, Derby, and Sunderland, and to Southampton in the Premier League. Several of the loans are understood to give MSD security over the stadium of the club in question in the event of a missed repayment. So that's been like part two of this whole thing involving Reading and any of these stadia that are attached to MSD and Michael Dell Partners, is that owners, it's like, well, if you ain't paying me, then I get the stadium. That's what it's looking like. So one exec at another club said MSD became major lenders during the pandemic and have effective control over several clubs' cash flows. Platek has been at the company for over 20 years, runs their credit operation, and will become chairman at the end of the year. At best, it doesn't look good. At worst, it's a huge conflict of interest. EFL obviously didn't comment, understood to be aware of other clubs' concerns. They've held talks with Reading about Platek and made clear that they've got to comply, that whoever the new owner can be, they got to comply with the league regs. Platek said when buying his other clubs, they were personal investments with no link to MSD. And so you got to sit there and look at the sensitive nature of the whole thing. It's like, okay, is it personal? Is it MSD? And Platek has said it's a personal investment. Now, Reading was put up for sale 18 months ago. And like I said, when we've had Jess on to talk about Dai Young, you've seen the hashtag, about until we die, sell until we die. Guardian revealed last October a loan taken out by Dai Young from a state-backed Chinese bank was one of the complexities holding up the sale, but that matter has been resolved. And Reading shut down their women's operation last summer because of a lack of finances. And so now Platek becomes the fifth person to stand in line to try and buy Reading. Obviously, both Reading and Platek have declined to comment on the whole thing. But obviously, keep an eye on that, and just keep your fingers crossed for Jess. Keep your fingers crossed for Jess. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch, how to watch it. And we'll go through, once again, She Believes is on like 38 different networks tonight. Real Madrid keen to sign a center back, looking at Jared Branthwaite at Everton. Napoli prepared to offer Rasmus Højlund to move away from Manchester United if Manchester United doesn't want the $72 million that cost them to pick up Højlund in the first place. Manchester City interested in both Newcastle's Tino Livramento and Juve's Andrea Cambiaso as a part of their rebuild. Cole Palmer will be asked if he's happy to stay at Chelsea this summer should the team miss out on Champions League. Arsenal is chasing after Frenkie de Jong, willing to offer Barcelona €75 million for him. Atletico Madrid interested in signing Mateo Kovacic from Manchester City this summer. Clubs are looking to take advantage of Manchester United's financial crisis, offering instant cash to buyout sell-on clauses for players who've left. No club has shown concrete interest in Casemiro from Manchester United, and he doesn't want to budge from his salary demand. San Diego have made no progress, according to Team Talk, in securing Kevin De Bruyne on a free. You catch up with Tom Bogert, you catch up with folks, they're saying, yeah, that's where it's leaning. But right now, San Diego, according to some, they're no closer than you or I. Southampton's 19-year-old English midfielder Tyler Dibbling is going to leave the club if they're relegated from the Premier League this year, so he's leaving. Spurs could offload Yves Bissouma when the summer transfer window is open. That comes from our friends at GMS and Gimme Sport. Villa set to rival Arsenal, Chelsea, and West Ham for 20-year-old Porto forward Samu Egahawa. Newcastle's going to listen to offers for Nick Pope in the summer. Neymar recently returned to Santos, but his agent, Pini Zahavi, has said he might rejoin Barca in the summer on a free. Okay. Manchester United want to wrap up a deal to sign Giovanni Kenda before the summer transfer window opens from Sporting. We can talk to Nino about that tomorrow. Ruud van Nistelrooy under growing pressure at Leicester City. Newcastle chairman Yasser Al-Rumayyan has traveled to the city to make the final decision on the club stadium plans. We talked about that yesterday. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. What do we watch other than the She Believes late night tonight? You got CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, 6:30, 8:30, 10:30. Copa Libertadores on BN. Nublense, Boston River at 5. Barcelona and El Nacional at 7:30. You can catch up with BN and BN en Español, TSA, Nuestro Telesitio for the fans, Gold TV, Liga 1 Max, Liga 1 Max Pro, and our buddy Nino Torres over at Gold TV at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And you get all of the intel, all the info. You get all of the games from all around the planet, including Libertadores. You turn into a true degenerate like me. I blame Jason. French Cup is on FS2 with a doubleheader. Team from the 4th tier made it into the semis yesterday. Brest and Dunkirk at 1. Stade Briochin and PSG's at 3. Then once again on FS2, Cincinnati and Motagua, RSL Herediano, Seattle Antigua back-to-back, 6:30, 8:30, 10:30. TBS She Believes. Liverpool and Newcastle at 3:15 is on USA. BN en Español simulcasting BN. Fox Deportes simulcasting French Cup. 2 to NA doubleheader, Pachuca Puebla at 8. Atletico San Luis and Chivas at 10:05. Universo, Liverpool Newcastle simulcast. Both ends of the She Believes Cup. Australia Colombia at 7:30. USA Japan at 10:30. On the plus, quarterfinal of the German Cup at 2:30. Leipzig and Wolfsburg. Copa del Rey semi league leg 1. Real Sociedad Real Madrid. Fox Soccer Plus, noon, the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. Max, She Believes. NBCSports.com, Liverpool, Newcastle. Paramount Plus, Copa Italia, Juve, Empoli at 3. Peacock, all 4 of the matchups at 2:30 on the Premier League and the 2 She Believes matches. VIX has your 3 CONCACAF Champions Cup matches and the Liga MX doubleheader. Whew. That's a busy day. It's been a fun day. It's been a busy day, but it's a fun day. All over the board. So now that I've finally, oh, man, that just gets to me. I hate it when I'm talking into the void because you think you hit a button and then you don't hit a button. Anyway, tomorrow, once again, the Power Hour, hour number 2, Nino and Nico, and that will let you know what's going on around the world in 30 minutes. And then MLS from a Pacific perspective coming out of week number 1, heading into week number 2. Hour number 1 on the board. We're chasing folks. Whoever wants to come in and hang out with us can come in and hang out with us to talk about week 1, talk about week 2. We're chasing Charlotte to get their ideas about the rivalry and everything. So we'll see if our fancy guest that we always like to have on here can come and hang out. He was on before the season. Now, hopefully, can be here before match week 2. So anyway, we're chasing folks. Power Hour tomorrow from 10 to 11:05. And once again, later today on the network, more teams are going into the NPSL here in 25. We're going to catch up with our friends in Rochester, and that'll be on the network later today. Thanks, as always, for hanging out, as you always do, and putting up with me and not knowing technology. Ricky, once again, have a good hump day, and thanks for Wall Pass Wednesday. Thanks to Tyler. Hopefully his internet is fixed. Once again, tonight, Scarves and Spikes on their YouTube channel and all their socials as they go through everything in the middle of the week. I think that's going to do it. So once again, back in less than 22 hours. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente for being big sponsors with us here on SDH. Thanks to everybody who listened last night to Riverwood and Midtown, boys and girls. And the next matchup on the high school side of things is Friday night, West Forsyth and Lambert. Soccer is in session, is at 12:15. So we'll be back in a little over an hour to talk the high school game. Matt Cheeves from Dalton, and it is going to be Will Homskus from Lincoln County, maybe boys coach Matthew Hazlip, and then Ryan Burkhart from North Gwinnett. So back in an hour and 5 minutes, 12:15, your lunch hour, soccer's in session as we go through everything in the high school. So I'm going to take an hour break. We'll be back to do more stuff on the network because that's what we do. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means we get to do this. See you at lunch.